Welcome everyone to the third part of the series here on Pommy and Oz, where we take an expert in their team and answer the burning questions I have before I do a season preview of them. I'm joined by a man that is YouTube famous, social media famous, the number one St Kilda fan in my eyes and yours, the great man Jake from Saints TV. Jake, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well, mate. It's a little bit warm. It's a humid Friday night, but I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I wouldn't want to be out on a date. I'm here with you, mate, talking Saints footy. In fact, I cancelled a date to be with you, so I'm very happy to be here, mate.
Hey, I appreciate you taking the time out. It's probably showing our age that we are recording this on a Friday night when younger us would probably be out in a nightclub somewhere at St Kilda.
Yeah, destroying it, no doubt. Destroying it.
Destroying it. Well, talking about destroying it, St Kilda, I always look at the back end of the year, which I think is always a good kind of form ascertaination for the next year. And the Saints had a bit of a up and down year, but ultimately finished the year strong, finishing in 12th, which I think is probably where most people had you. Great year in some terms. All the Premiership stats, you were top 5 for turnover scores, top 5 for defensive half, all the good stuff. How did you see your year as a Saint? Obviously, I'm guessing you've got high expectations, so no finals ain't great, but how did you feel it now the dust has settled?
Yeah, at the end, the back half of the year was a big improvement, and I think that changed every St Kilda supporter's view of the season as a whole. Probably at the bye, we were a little bit disappointed. We had a lot of close losses, which the experts don't tend to talk about. They kind of just look at the win-loss and think, well, they were kind of middle of the road. But the back end, we started to beat some good teams, and even at the front end, we had 4 or 5 opportunities to beat teams, and we couldn't get the job done for one reason or another. But I think it was exactly the year. I'm hoping in 12 months' time, if we have this same conversation, that I'll look back on this year and think that was the groundwork for what is to come. So I'm really excited for what we're going to do next year, with especially what we'll talk about, the draft crop we've brought in, and our sort of free agency trade period and what we did there with McRae. But I'm okay with this year. I can accept it, and I think we needed to have it.
I felt what he's not talked about enough is you're going into this year as the 14th oldest side. And we hear everything, like even the Blues are still called the baby Blues, even though we're top 6th oldest side, but people still think we're young. Yeah. I think a lot of misconceptions exist about your Saints. One, that you are a young side, a developing side, but 2, the development of Ross the Boss from this stagnant, slow game plan that everyone kind of tars him with. So we talked about the transition game and the turnover game. You guys have at times been really exciting to watch and looking to counterpunch and be aggressive. Do you feel that St Kilda almost are like the forgotten child of the AFL, that people just kind of just say throwaway statements, but no one really does any research or give any plaudits where it's due?
100%. Yeah. No one's put it as eloquently as you just then, but that's exactly how I feel most of the time. But I don't think that's going to change until we actually have 2 or 3 years of being a very good team and then winning a final, even making or winning a grand final. I don't think it will change until we win our second premiership, regardless of how good we will be in the regular season. It's just one of those things that, you know, people will always fall back on and say, well, Ross was a good coach, but he didn't win a grand final. And he gets that now, and we get that as a club. So until we turn that around, I don't think that's going to change. But we are in a different area than a lot of people probably give us credit for. I did a video the other day, you know, kind of talking about, I feel like we're almost in a little rebuild, but we're winning. So it's kind of not your standard rebuild. I know Geelong and Sydney have kind of done it, but I never think they had to really rebuild. They just had to top up as they went on. They were always top teams. But like you said, we're the 4th youngest, or the 14th oldest, if you want to put it that way. And we're winning games every second week, statistically, in the last 2 seasons. So we're blooding kids. We're winning. We've made finals 1 out of 2 years under Ross. I'm not too concerned.
And obviously, I always look at off-season, and we talked about the things that were good. Obviously, one of the areas that I think it surprised me when I review Saints was your scores from forward half were the worst in the league. And with your midfield as well, the stoppage and clearance scores were in the lower tier. And I'm always interested, the big summer recruit, and I'm really bullish on this one, is a guy that's been underloved and underused in Jack McRae. How did that feel to get him across? Because I thought that was a great signing. He's still got a lot of footy left. He really complements your midfield. Do you see like a little midfield change around with Jack coming in, who's experienced and probably one of the cleaner players in and around the clinches?
Yeah, that was a stat that I was kind of looking at maybe a week or two ago. I was looking at, in general, just midfield and what we did this year and maybe what improved in the back end. Stoppage was the one that stood out to me, same as you, was we were, I think, bottom 3 or bottom 4 stoppage scores. We're not too bad in clearances, which is the funny thing, is around the ground. Well, I think we're top 5, top 6 even, I'm not too sure, but it's just more impact from the clearance. And Steele this year's had to work without Brad Crouch. Brad Crouch only played round 1 and that was it. Seb Ross was kind of in and out of the team and is now delisted, forced to retire basically. And then we had Mateus in there learning and being sort of pushed to Sandy and then found his form in the back end of the year. So who's our most damaging player in that midfield? It's probably Rowan Marshall. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's our ruck. It shouldn't be our ruck. And it shouldn't be the main source of score being your ruck. It should be the midfield. But Steele, I think, probably had a 6, 7 out of 10 season, but for the most part, it was about a 5. He got better as we went on. But we just don't have that explosive player. But with McRae, I think that takes the pressure off Steely a little bit. And it's just another player for Mateus and Hugo Garcia and Windhager to learn from, to find the ball and then to use it well. So, yeah, I'm hoping it's going to benefit us and we're going to be able to score more there. But and it puts a little bit of pressure on Rowe. He's got to be a bit more inventive with his tap. Everyone's criticised him. His tap work's not probably the best, but his clearance work overall is pretty strong.
Yeah, I'm really excited about seeing how that works. And you mentioned some names there, Garcia, Wanganeen, you've got Filippo. I think you've got every club is looking for dynamic, exciting, pinch-hitting midfielders. And I think you've got pace to burn. And we're seeing that's like the modern day way. You see Sydney play that way, Brisbane play that way, try and win the ball and then get it going quick. You've got a lot of them players who can really complement Steele and then McRae's accumulation to really damage teams in that area, particularly around stoppage.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the draft and, some people were critical of us not trying to move up. I know some people wanted us to get Josh Smiley. I see him as being a very good player, in 10 years. I think he will develop with Richmond. But it's almost like we're anticipating the game itself is moving away from that big-bodied, slowish sort of midfielder that's dominant just physically. And like you said, it's very much get the ball and get it on the outside as quickly as possible. Within 1 or 2 handballs, it needs to be in the hands of Darcy Wilson, Nasaya, Brad Hill on the outside. So really the need for that big-bodied midfielder probably wasn't there for us. It's more, like a McRae who's a bit more nimble. He's still 6'2", 6'3", but he's not your Paddy Cripps type. But Filippo has the potential to be maybe that bigger-bodied midfielder long-term. And also, you don't want to jump the gun if there's free agents in 12 months' time that might be available. So I think our strategy was pretty sound in the end.
Yeah, it's. I think it's a real balanced list. I think when people look at Saints, it does annoy me because people look at lists and we kind of judge them on stars. I would say like your elite players are probably fewer than the other clubs, but then that next level, that A grade, could be elite. I think you have more than most other clubs. I think some of the names we've mentioned, I think these guys could be the best in class with just a little bit of refinement and a year in. And it's interesting. We talked about what you were lacking last year and free agency. You lost Battle and Trevelya and Tyru coming in as your first two picks. Yeah. I was surprised you went back half of the ground, but I do see Trav being that guy that's a midfielder. I think you'll use him as a midfielder, and I think sometimes your ball use can be found wanting, and that is his highest asset, his ability to kick on the outside. How did you see that? Were you surprised you went backman, or were you not surprised?
Tyru, either way, I wanted him. So I'll just quickly get that out of the way. Either way, I wanted him badly. So to get him at 10, I was absolutely stoked, over the moon. He can play both ends. To me, he's got one of the highest ceilings, if not the highest ceiling from that top 10, just from raw talent. Not a midfielder, but could be the next Nick Rewalt or whoever you want him to be. Like, he's just that freak in the air. So I think that was a given for me. I wanted him. Initially, I think I wanted Draper to slip, and I was hoping Adelaide wouldn't pick him. I thought they'd go Langford, and then that would mean Draper would fall to us, and it'd be an absolute dream. But Trevelya, I kind of knew he was of interest before the draft anyway. And I did a bit more research on him, and his style of play out of the back half was very Darcy Wilson-esque, but just more behind the ball than in front of the ball. Darcy's wing half forward. This guy could be wing half back. So it's kind of covering both bases. But from what I've been told and some people that I've spoken to sort of around the club, and the decision is that we've drafted him as a midfielder. So he may play half back, but to us, he is a midfielder. He may not fit in there now, but long term, that's where we will play him. So I don't see him like, I didn't think we drafted a defender in my eyes. He's too attacking.
I'm with you. I think he's going to be like, he's a perfect complement, in my opinion, to your young midfielders. I think he ticks all the boxes with what you kind of want them to learn. He already knows natively, and I think the other stuff you could teach him. The pick that did excite me, though, with you guys, the two that did, was Hugh Boxall and Alex Dodson, who I am shocked you got Doddo at 53. But Hugh, again, seemed to me, we talked about the pressure. This guy's a pressure magnet, and he seemed, if you had to pick a player that I think Ross loves, it's a guy that prides himself on not being beaten. I really like them picks, and obviously James Barat, who I've talked about a lot on this show. In the end, it might not be an exciting draft, and a lot of Saint fans hated me for my rating, where I said it was like a wait and see for me. I do concede, though, it's an excellent draft in the terms of you've targeted certain areas, so that has to be a tick.
The thing that stood out to me was a lot of them are versatile. They can play all over the ground. So like Tyru can play both ends. Trav can play half back, midfield, wing, maybe even half forward flank at times. He can play all over the field. Barrett can play forward, can play back, but most likely he is our full back long term, I would say. Obviously Boxall is more that pure mid. Then you've got Patrick Said as well, who's a really sort of exciting forward mid, but probably more forward. And then obviously Dodson's the more, one positional player, which is the ruck, but best ruck in the draft, and he came at 53, so I was pretty happy in the end. But yeah, clearly Ross has identified endurance. A lot of them are really strong in the air. Like even Boxall's very strong, like in the air. There was that mark, everyone's probably seen it, where he flies in out of screen. Unbelievable mark. Nick Rewalt type mark, just disregarding his own safety and flying for it. When I watched him in his highlights, I was like, just put him next to Jack Steele for the next preseason. He'll learn a lot from Jack Steele. He plays like him already. So, yeah, it's probably not the most exciting draft, but I think we've hit the nail on the head with what we need over the next 5 to 10 years, I would have thought.
And going into this year, it seems, you just said to me off camera, every year you're written off. And it's funny because the bookies have you at the bottom end of the scale. The pundits have you at the bottom end of the scale. I'm a little bit different. I think there's something about this Saints side that says to me that you prioritise team ethic over individual talent, which I think a lot of the top six still dine out on top end talent. I think there's a real togetherness about Saints. Going into this year, what are you expecting from the Saints? Because I agree with you. Last year, I felt was a lesson learned, and I thought they passed the test in the end.
Yeah, I agree with that. Next year, the goal, assuming, we don't have too many injuries, which is always something you can't predict right now, finals is absolutely the goal for the next year, to make finals, to win a final. And then 2026 is, I think, when we want to start challenging, when we want to start climbing the ranks and trying to make the top four and being a contender. And that's really off the back of a strong season next season to entice some of these free agents to come across. Because if we don't play good football next season, some of these free agents are not going to come and they're going to go to another team, or they're going to stay at their current team. Like LDU, that's a big one. He's a main target of ours. Everyone knows that. There are other targets, but he's one of the most publicized ones. We get one or two of them. Our young kids develop. Our senior players remain in their prime for another 2 to 3 years, and everything's, sort of lining up for that push in 2026.
There is a guy that I'm really bullish on next year, and I know he divides some of you Saint fans. I know you're a big lover. I think when you've got a player of Max King's capabilities, and I think people really disregard how good Maxi can be when he's fit, and there's so many key forwards in the league that had disappointing starts to their careers and had if-only moments. I really do believe Max King is a top 3 key forward once he gets everything sorted. He is definitely the type of player that when you look at some of the games you lost last year that were tight, is that guy that can kick 5 goals out of nothing and get you over the line. How confident are you that we can see the best of Max King? Because I think he's one of the best key forwards in the last decade to come through the junior football.
I'm very confident. I wouldn't pump him up that much on the channel if I wasn't, I'm just like to share my thoughts and my gut feel. And my gut feel is he's putting in the work. And I saw him started last week at the Crest party that the club invited us to, and saw him up close. And he looks like an absolute monster already. Like, he's put on size. He's still in the sort of the rehab group at training at the moment, but he will start getting into some more contact. But size-wise, which is the big focus, especially around his shoulders, because that's where he's had the biggest problem, he's looking very solid. And I know everyone says that at the start of preseason. Geez, he's put on size. Look at this guy. You know what I mean? But he genuinely looks like a different player already. And it's only, we're not in December yet. So by the time March comes around, if he puts on another few kgs, gets his mobility back, there's the only person that can stop Max King is Max King. When he's on top, I don't think he should fear any single defender in the competition. That's how I feel.
I'm with you. I think when you combine that size, that speed, and them smarts, you're a very dangerous proposition for a key. I don't think there's any key defender that sees Max King as their matchup and thinks it's going to be an easy day.
No, I think Harris Andrews, height-wise, is probably the only one that gets close to him because he's over 200 centimeters. But a lot of keybacks these days are 198, 197, maybe a bit shorter. And he's 206 or a little bit more than that. So, yeah, I mean, Joe Danaher is kind of a good example. He's such a hard matchup because he's so tall, but he's also so mobile when the ball hits the deck. So it's in the air, on the ground, you're in trouble. So he just needs to get his body right and his head right, and I think hopefully we'll see the best of him. And then that'll go a long way for us, hitting those targets of making top 4 in the next couple of years.
Jake, I love it. Well, for the fans watching at home, all your links are in the description. Make sure go and check Jake out. He's got a variety of shows, and he's one of the nicest guys in YouTube by a long way as well. One of the nicest, one of my favourites to chat to. Jake, what are you up to in the off-season? Let the people know. Is there anything exciting happening during the festive period?
I mean, I'm trying to tee up some more big interviews, trying to get some more one-on-ones going. We did an Andrew Bassett President one a couple of weeks back, and that was really well received. Got mentioned on radio and a few newspapers and took things out of context, which was good fun. But hopefully doing a bit more of that, and then obviously covering just the general preseason, getting down, watching the training, telling the Saints fans that everyone's dominating and getting personal bests. And we dropped a little song today as well, which was interesting. A little rap song. Did you see that on Insta?
I haven't. I've been out all day, so that's why this is the first time I've sat down and enjoyed myself.
That's what happens that's what happens when you get bored in the off season. You make people write rap songs and get them produced for no reason. So it's a good song though. People want more of it apparently, so we'll see.
You know what? As soon as I finish this, I am giving that a watch. I actually can't wait.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for having me on, Pom, especially at late notice. I appreciate it.
Cheers, Jake. Well, great luck next year. I wish you all the best luck in the world, because if I don't, my wife will kill me. So hopefully a Saints Blues final. That'll be the dream outcome for me personally.
Yeah. Well, round 9, mate, at the G. It's going to be fun. Saints home game. I'm very excited.
Yeah, we have manipulated the AFL into a very good draw. I don't know who's done it, but thank you, AFL. So be a good one.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate.
I see her rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella